Guardians of Dominion, Zeus reporting. A few anti-healing tools are quietly shutting down a massive part of the Hero Wars roster, and most players still do not see how deep this goes. The real value is not just in countering healers, but in crippling sustain across the battlefield. Watch this carefully. Today, while working on countering healers, I realized something surprising. Only a very small number of heroes can counter healing across a huge part of the Hero Wars roster. When I looked deeper, it became clear that just a few names are capable of disrupting one of the most common mechanics in the game, and that makes them far more important than many players realize. I'm talking about Celeste, Jet, Cascade, and I also want to include Amira in this discussion. We already know Celeste is one of the most reliable anti-healing heroes in the game. Her skills do not just reduce the value of healing, they can completely punish heroes whose survival depends on restoring health. That makes her dangerous not only against classic healers, but also against heroes who heal themselves or heal their allies as part of their kit. When healing becomes damage instead of recovery, the entire battle can shift immediately. Cascade also belongs in this conversation. Hyperkinesis does not fully erase healing the way Celeste can, but it still attacks the same concept. It reduces healing and at the same time deals damage, which means the enemy is losing value from both directions. Instead of getting back into the fight through recovery, they are pushed even further down. That is why Cascade is so effective against heroes who rely on sustain to stay relevant in long battles. Jet brings another important anti-healing tool with Potion of Fatigue. This skill stops health regeneration for 8 seconds, and that is a very serious window in battle. 8 seconds is enough to completely ruin the rhythm of a healer or a sustain-based hero. If a hero depends on recovering health at the right moment, Jet can deny that timing and leave them exposed exactly when their team needs them most. And then we also have Biscuit. I see Biscuit as a hard counter specifically to heroes whose main purpose is healing. Not every hero with a health-related mechanic should be placed in the same category, because some heroes only have a small healing effect as part of a larger kit. But for true healers, heroes whose main role is to keep the team alive through healing, Biscuit directly attacks the core of what they do. If we look at the healer branch, the idea becomes much clearer. Thea's main job is healing. Aidan keeps his bonded ally alive. Martha is one of the clearest examples of a pure healer. Dorian provides healing through vampirism. Maya combines damage with healing. Markus is built almost entirely around sustaining allies. Guus also belongs in the healing discussion. These are heroes whose identity is strongly tied to recovery, sustain, and keeping the team alive. Because of that, Celeste, Jet, Cascade, and Biscuit can be viewed as direct answers to their main mechanic. Now I want to add Amira, because I think she deserves a place in this conversation as well, even if she works differently. Amira is not a direct anti-healing counter in the same style as Celeste, Jet, or Cascade. Her value comes from what she does to intelligence-based heroes. She grants a wish to enemies with intelligence as their main stat, and that increases the healing they receive for a short period, but that is only one part of the picture. The more important part is her massive magic attack reduction. If a healer depends on magic attack to scale healing, and Amira removes nearly 120,000 magic attack, then the result is simple: their healing can drop to almost nothing. That is why I think Amira should be included, but in a separate category. Celeste, Jet, Cascade, and Biscuit directly interfere with healing mechanics. Amira suppresses healing indirectly by crushing the stat that many intelligence-based healers depend on. So she is not a universal anti-healing counter, but against the right targets, especially intelligence healers, she can make their healing almost irrelevant. Now, outside of pure healers, there are also many heroes across the roster who have healing-related mechanics. This is where the topic becomes even more interesting, because anti-healing is not only about countering dedicated healers. It is also about countering sustain. Lara Croft, for example, has healing in her kit. Krista has an ascension effect that works like vampirism, returning part of the damage dealt as healing while her crystal is active. In a case like that, Celeste becomes especially punishing, because she does not just stop the healing value, she can turn that attempted sustain into damage instead. Chabot also has healing through his Violet skill, where he restores health by digesting a swallowed enemy and converting that damage into health. That is another good example of a hero who is not a classic healer, but still depends on recovery at key moments. The same logic applies to Ishmael's vampirism, although with Ishmael there is an extra complication because he can dodge magic attacks, so the counter is not always as straightforward. Galahad's vampirism can also be targeted. The list keeps expanding from there. The Ninja Turtles have healing support through Mikey. Astaroth's resurrection can be countered by Celeste and Cascade. Mushy and Shroom have a new ascension-related sustain element. Nebula has serenity. Dew has self-recovery. Kark can restore health through survival factor. Jiri has shelter of sands. Lyria brings vampirism through bones of alliance. Satori has eternal wisdom, which both steals intelligence and restores health based on damage dealt. Phobos can deal damage and heal the ally with the lowest health. Artemis has healing interaction through Smart Arrow. Arachne has vampirism. Electra has Spark of Life with very high vampirism value. Morrigan has healing related effects. Mojo has healing spirit. Alvanna has Rune of Life. Kai has vampirism through Stolen Life. Lilith increases max and current health through Underworld Seal. And this is exactly why the topic matters. When you think about healing counters, it is easy to think only about pure healers like Martha or Thea. But the reality is much bigger. Healing, health restoration, regeneration, vampirism, resurrection, and sustain effects are spread across a large part of the Hero Wars roster. That means a hero like Celeste, Jet, or Cascade is not just useful in one small niche matchup. These heroes can impact a massive number of battles, simply because so many heroes rely on some form of recovery. At the same time, it is important to make one distinction. Amira cannot counter every healing-related hero in this roster. Her strength is much narrower. She is effective against heroes with intelligence as their main stat, because that is where the magic attack reduction becomes devastating. Heroes like Satori fit that logic, while strength-based heroes such as Burner or Hus do not fall into that same category. So Amira should be treated as a selective anti-healing option, not a universal one. But if we step back and look at the full picture, the conclusion is still very strong. Celeste, Jet, and Cascade, together with Biscuit, can counter healing mechanics across roughly half of the roster when we include pure healers and heroes with healing-related sustain. That is a huge amount of influence from only a few anti-healing tools, and that is exactly why this subject deserves more attention. So the big takeaway is simple: anti-healing is much stronger than most players think. Celeste, Jet, Cascade, Biscuit, and in specific matchups even Amira, can shut down not just healers, but a huge number of heroes who rely on sustain to survive. Let me know in the comments which anti-healing counter gives you the most value, and whether there are other heroes you think belong in this discussion. If this helped you, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you do not miss the next strategy breakdown. Stay sharp, stay strategic, and I'll see you on the battlefield.